Okay, you're live from now onwards.
Great.
So our presentation is about our findings regarding Shell as a multinational enterprise. So first briefly, who is Shell? So Shell is a multinational oil and gas company with operations in more than 70 countries. The aim of Shell is to meet the world's growing energy demands in ways that are economically, socially and environmentally responsible, while considering both current and future needs. So at this moment, with the low oil prices and the environmental concerns, Shell faces both economic and environmental challenges. So therefore, our problem statement is, how can Shell maintain its competitive advantage despite operating in a declining industry with high external pressures? So in order to answer this problem statement, we will discuss the following topics. First, we'll have a look at the company's global expansion. Then we'll discuss the internationalization, evolution, and strategy. Then we'll go in depth on the subsidiaries. Then we'll look at challenges and opportunities in the external environment, and we'll have an example of a strategic alliance that Shell is engaged in. And finally, we'll have our conclusion. So, as Shell has substantial foreign direct investment and it actively manages these operations through subsidiaries, the company can be classified as a multinational enterprise. Shell also has the strategic competencies to have a competitive advantage over the national companies, such as its technological expertise. Another competency lies in the company's vertical integration, which allow it to have more control over its operations and better risk management. So why did Shell expand internationally in the first place? So the primary reason was to secure key supplies, as there are very few oil reserves in Europe. Economies of scale was another important reason. The substantial initial investment required to extract and refine oil needs to be offset by a high volume of output. Furthermore, expanding internationally improves the company's global scanning and learning capabilities, which is becoming more and more important nowadays. So now that environmental concerns are growing, the company is pressured by the public and by governments to come up with more innovative and less polluting solutions. And finally, Shell also enjoys advantages of competitive positioning, as the various parts of the supply chain are located in different countries. In this way, for example, in 2015, Shell was able to compensate a loss in its upstream businesses by strong performance in its downstream businesses, which is referred to as global chess.
So these reasons for global expansion basically connect to the layers of competitive advantage. As you might remember, we once built up this house with the 3 different layers. So the first one being global scale efficiency, and this one is also the layer which Shell is most dominant in. So they have really huge operations with huge output volumes, which, like Milou already touched upon, are also required to offset the investment. But still, Shell also goes beyond that point of offsetting investments and really capturing global scale efficiency in this layer. The second one, multinational flexibility, is fostered through Shell's presence in more than 70 countries. So this figure alone tells you that Shell has to cope with a lot of different parties. They're not only governments for extraction rights, but also NGOs, which are more concerned, for example, about human rights or environmental impacts. So here also Shell is always trying to learn and improve the multinational flexibility. For the worldwide learning, the third layer of competitive advantage, so here you will see later on through the integrated R&D network, which is more or less unique by the way they organize this, also contribute worldwide learning and really also underline this third layer of Shell. So how did Shell manage their corporate processes in order to achieve these 3 layers? So at first, Shell was traditionally global. So after the merger in the 19th century, they found themselves in a commodity product, oil and gas, are commodities which are demanded throughout the whole world. So it has to satisfy a world market, and it only can do this by global scale production. So it is not enough to only have limited output volume, since the demand is always rising until recent change toward more renewable energies. Then Shell tried to implement a matrix structure where the managers had to report to a functional product and area head. But as Shell recognized the difficulties of this three-dimensional matrix, Shell then aborted again this matrix structure and is now on its way to a transnational approach. So Shell has various subsidiaries which also operate with significant autonomy, and in accordance with these subsidiaries, Shell also has R&D centers in 3 main locations, which will be elaborated on later.
So regarding the subsidiaries, Shell has a parental subsidiary structure that implies that Royal Dutch Shell has a limited influence in the subsidiaries. The internal structure is divided in layers. First, we have Royal Dutch Shell and the 4 main business: upstream, international, upstream Americas, downstream, and projects and technology. In projects and technology, we have the R&D related business. In the second layer, they are the firms and enterprises that are in each of the business. An example is Shell Oil Company that operates in America. And the next layer would be the different subsidiaries that that already Shell subsidiaries have, as Aera Energy LLC. So as we already said, the research and development business is the research and development is included in the projects and technology business, and it has the main centers in the United States, the Netherlands, and India. It's an integrated R&D network, which is a big part of the transnational strategy and allows for a globally integrated subsidiaries and a higher efficiency. For example, when trying to overcome the geographical distances that the landscape provides. The integrated network is a response for a growing pressure for global scanning and learning that through investing in their own R&D, Shell tries to be able to capitalize on in their own information and increase assertive capacity. Lastly, the sustaining innovation process is the chief technology officer takes care of this, and the worldwide functioning manager that differs innovations and transfer the knowledge.
Okay, so coming to the competition among the global players in the oil business. The oil, as you might know, is a product that is not extractable everywhere. There has to be certain environmental conditions for the companies to be able to extract oils. And most of the oil reservoirs are controlled by the governments, which means that Shell, in order to gain the right to extract that oil, has to form part of these so-called licensing rounds, which basically means that the companies outbid themselves in an effort to gain the lease on one of the extraction rights. And as one example might show, in Iraq you have the major players in the oil industry competing head-on-head for the extraction rights on several spots. As soon as one lease is about to expire or is expired, the companies start their bidding processes. And one might say that in this area of business, herd behavior might be found, but that's only up to a limited extent, because the companies do their own seismic research with regard to the oil reservoirs, meaning that if their research shows that it is not feasible to compete for a licensing round in a certain spot, they won't go there, as in comparison the herd behavior definition says that the company would therefore give up their own opportunities in order to follow competitors, which in this case is not.
So then we come to the challenges and opportunities in the external environment for Shell. So we have identified 4 main ones, and we will discuss each of them more in depth. So let's start with the emerging markets. So as we all know, emerging markets are steadily growing in importance. For Shell, these markets do not influence the sourcing decisions a lot, but they offer opportunities for the retailing business. They could open up gas stations in these markets. From this graph you can see, for example, in India, many more cars are being used. And as a consequence, the demand for gas increases. In particular, Shell focuses on the bottom of the pyramid markets in developing countries. However, it's not enough for Shell, or it's not sufficient to just implement their existing technologies and distribution channels there, even with any adaptations. So therefore, they established the Shell Foundation in 2000. So in order to fully benefit from the opportunities in emerging countries. So this company serves as a business development task force that aims to improve the business opportunities in BOP markets by creating joint ventures with local entrepreneurs. The foundation, or the Shell Foundation, provides support, both financial and non-financial support, to these local entrepreneurs. And in turn, Shell aims to take these innovations that come from these joint ventures in the BOP markets and then take them globally. So Shell benefits from reverse innovation.
Okay, between the MNE and the government, there is a so-called love and hate relationship. And we have depicted the love and hate relationship scenario for Shell. So the love side of this relationship would entail the investment in infrastructure that Shell offers in the countries that they move into for the extraction rights. Furthermore, the employment created through their presence, and of course the corporate taxes that the government collects from the operations that Shell endeavors in their countries. Of course, there's also the hate side, and one big player in the hate side of the relationship, especially in the case for Shell, would be the environmental impacts of their processes and the exploitation of finite resources. And one might even, I'm going to show you a picture that depicts the hate relationship a bit more graphically. As you can see, that's an oil spill, and actually oil spills are the result of a problem in the production, which causes environmental impacts such as this one. And furthermore, the industry of the oil industry does not permit or does not allow clusters to build, since, as I told already, the oil reserves are located geographically, but due to certain environmental conditions, exactly. But on the other hand, since Shell is integrated in most of their up and downstream businesses, there is the formation of retail clusters. And one example would be in New York, the hydrogen gas station retail cluster that they're trying to form. On the one side, you can see all the gas stations that are run by competitors in the New York State area. And here you have just the amount of Shell gas stations. As you can see, the amount of gas stations that Shell runs versus the amount of gas stations that are run by their competitors is quietly balanced out, meaning that Shell has definitely the upper hand in this cluster.
Okay, coming to our last point on our agenda, the joint venture between ExxonMobil and Shell, which resulted in a company called Infinium. I wanted to ask you guys, do you know ExxonMobil, and if yes, where do you know it from, or what is ExxonMobil? You haven't heard of ExxonMobil?
No, I think I heard of it, but just in the book.
Okay, ExxonMobil is actually the largest publicly traded oil and gas industry on this planet. So most of our oil, which are consumed by our cars, can come from ExxonMobil. So this was a really striking point for me to see that Shell and ExxonMobil, one of the two largest players, engaged together in a 50-50 joint venture. So we asked ourselves the question, why do these huge companies even have to do that? So why do they have to collaborate and risk exposure of, for example, their own innovations? And the answer to our mind is that, well, these companies have their own R&D networks, which they can also then innovate and capitalize these innovations, but they sometimes lack the innovation with an outside perspective. So that's why these two companies set up Infinium, which now develops fuel additives to get new innovative solutions, but also having the contrast of the two researchers of the two companies. So basically this clash of cultures and ideas should then produce new innovations which each company couldn't have done separately. So when we look at the slide where Infinium is present in the developed world, so we see again United States, we see Europe, we see Japan, but also we see South Korea. So basically two companies make a 50-50 joint venture, and the result is again a new huge global company. So here you can really see the large scale of these two businesses and what can result if they decide to collaborate together.
The purpose of our report was to know how can Shell maintain its competitive advantage despite operating in a declining industry with high external pressures. Well, we can evaluate these by focusing on 4 points, the ones that we touched in the presentation. The first one, R&D. Shell constantly provides new technology through the R&D centers, and these new technologies are leveraged by Shell global networks of operations and technology centers. Regarding the multinational flexibility, the worldwide distributed subsidiaries and strategic alliances, as the joint ventures, allows for capitalize on learning, but also react and adapt to local circumstances. Then, on a world that in a developed world where the oil industry is in a certain point in a decline due to the rise of new energies, we think that the oil industry enterprise should focus on the emerging markets where new opportunities can be found. Lastly, Shell is exposed to external pressures, as they are the governments that are pushing for local development, and also to companies to perform inside the legal framework, and also by the public, the pressure for sustainable solutions to the new difficulties. But overall, we know that Shell constantly faces difficult obstacles, but due to the global strength through the interlinked networks and the local presence through the subsidiaries, Shell has the necessary capabilities to overcome them. Moreover, the development towards a transnational strategy will provide the strengths and competences to succeed in sustainable. Yeah. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your attention.